Okay, we have some very interesting questions, and we're going to start with Christian Cox because he has to leave at 10:30 sharp, and so we have a question for you, Christian, from Eder Fabricio, and he's asking that. He's saying, despite the focus of the presentation is the preparation of teachers, the four underlying principles, I would like to have a glimpse of a related issue I consider as important as preparation. The picking and encouragement of most talented people to teach. What are, if they exist, the incentive policies for entering education courses and for teaching in Chile? Teachers' career, tenure, benefits, status, good wage, or talent detecting. Are you with us, Christian?
Are you listening to me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I listened to
the question
very well. Thank you. And I thank colleague Fabricio because it's a very interesting question and gives me the opportunity to refer to the contrast between Brazil and Chile regarding this dimension. I very much liked the very eloquent presentation by Sena, and the main contrast is that Chile has been investing in its education consistently for the last 2 decades. The national budget for education nowadays is 4 times what it was in 1990. 60% of that increase has gone to teacher salaries. So the situation of the profession nowadays is it is an attractive profession. Culturally speaking, it's still the last, more or less, in the ranking of professions, but there is huge interest in the present generation in becoming teachers, and that is what is behind the numbers that I presented. It's a mixture of social mobility rationale, but also interest in an area in which society, the political system, and general cultural atmosphere is totally pro-education and pro-teaching. You could say that Chilean society is obsessed about education being the key for reaching development and social integration. And at the center of this social wish is the notion that the quality of teaching, on the quality of teaching depends, that this expectation, very transversal politically speaking, is obtained. The result of this, I repeat, a very pro-education, social and political climate, atmosphere, is that Chile is nowadays very worried, the political system, the government, about the selection of the youngsters that start their training as teachers. This was not the case until only 4 years ago, which the idea of if you expand your numbers in such a way that practically anyone can enter teacher training, you have an incredibly difficult job in transforming that group, immense group, very heterogeneous group, into the professionals that we are dreaming about. So a change of policy and very proactive state efforts nowadays to not put a screening device, but giving incentives, very comprehensive scholarship schemes for the better ranked in the national examination, national university entrance exams. The better ranked can apply to very comprehensive scholarship schemes if they choose education. This policy had an immediate impact. It's a new policy, only two cycles in place, but with an immediate impact in terms of a drastic increase of better ranked from the top quartile in the national entrance examination entering education. A very good sign. This will go together with these efforts to make some national standards regulate what is provided by the different institutions as learning opportunities for becoming a teacher. So, in summary, there are those incentives, scholarship schemes, better paid profession outside, and all these embedded in a society that greatly values education and the teaching corps responsible for it. Thank you again, Fabrizio.
Again, thank you very much, Christian Cox, for your participation. So the second question is to Rachel Latan, and I would like you to ask you to answer in 5 minutes, if that's okay. The question is from Wanda Toss. She's saying, when you talk about creating equitable classrooms, I think of Brazilian public schools, where there are the mandatory inclusion and children with the most different levels of learning deficits share the same room, the same classroom, and teacher, which are not trained to manage this diversity. Adding to it is the health of impoverished children and family issues. So I ask, how to create equitable classrooms given the situation and this government panorama in the short, medium, and long term? How to change this paradigm? Paradigm. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to? No, this is good.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank the participant for this question because it is something that is very, very close to my heart and my mind, since I've been working for many years on figuring out what to do in classrooms, what teachers need to know and be able to do in classrooms where there is a very wide range of previous academic achievement or linguistic proficiency. I also want to say, in response to the last part of the question, kind of on a personal note, that when I reached the age of 50, I was very sad because I realized that I'm not going to be the one bringing on the revolution. And for the answer to your last question about what do we do about the impoverished families, the health, the well-being, the resources that they have. You know, that is probably the biggest question that faces us, not only in Brazil, but increasingly in the United States and everywhere else. Just some new research that has come out here from my colleague, Professor Sean Reardon, that showed that these days the in achievement of students from different socioeconomic backgrounds has surpassed the racial gap in the United States, which, as you know, used to be the most severe and the most concerning for educators. So, other than calling for a revolution, I'm not sure what to do. But in the meantime, we do work in classrooms where teachers have students, let's say if it's at the secondary level, you can be in a 10th grade classroom teaching biology, having a textbook, trying to do experiments, and you have students who read at the 2nd and 3rd grade level, if you're lucky maybe on the 7th grade level, and students who read at college level. That happens. Not as often actually as it used to, because schools have become more and more segregated, but it happens. In the same classroom, you have children who are very well-versed in the language of schooling, in the language that we use in the classrooms that the teachers use, and other students who are learning the language of instruction. And even if they are fluent on the playground, they are not necessarily fluent in the language in the classroom. So that is the situation. And that situation requires that teachers understand how to maintain a high-quality curriculum, teaching big ideas, teaching kids how to think critically while developing some of the basic skills at the same time. I don't want to, do a commercial, but the work that we have done here at Stanford around an approach called complex instruction addresses some of those issues. In many ways, teachers are very careful to make sure that they have a quality curriculum, that they perceive and believe that all kids can learn, and start from where it is that children are, so that we don't fall into the trap of what does this kid come in and what he or she cannot do, rather than what they can do and go from there. So if we know that learning occurs through interaction, be it interaction with the teacher, interaction among the peers, interaction with the curriculum material, I think that what we need to do is make sure that kids in classrooms have access to those quality interactions. So that's a very short answer because Luana only gave me 5 minutes. I could probably talk about this the whole hour. The course that I teach in STEP is all about building equitable classrooms and how to teach in heterogeneous classrooms. So thank you. Thank you for the question. I really appreciated it.
Okay, as for our last question, which is for Zena, Mariana Diniz is asking, what do you think, if you think that the lack of evaluation of teachers in Brazil put them in a position of no change, like they don't change because of the lack of evaluation?
Hi, Mariana, that's a tricky question. Evaluation, we have a lot of evaluations, and you're right, not of teachers. And I think before we start evaluating teachers, we should think about evaluating the teacher education programs and make sure that they're doing their job efficiently. I'm not sure that, well, I'm concerned that if we start evaluating teachers, we're going to find out something we already know that's, that is sad, and that we already know. So it's just to reaffirm something. And I think to make the change, it's not to give, if you give teachers feedback by evaluating them, you're not making change, you're just telling them that they're poor teachers. For them to be better teachers, they really have to have education. And we are responsible for that. I mean, the universities are responsible for that, and the government is responsible for that. And as I said, I think that the democratization of education is something very recent, so we can't expect big changes so fast. I think we have already made big changes and big improvements, and I think we are moving along that line, in that direction. I don't think we're going backwards. And, raising teacher salaries is a way of, I strongly believe in raising teacher salaries more than evaluating teachers, because once you make the profession attractive, you will get better students, and you will get students who have been to a better schooling and who are really committed to the profession and who want to do that. I mean, we often go into schools and see teachers who are unmotivated, and they don't want to be doing what they're doing. They're not being paid enough. So how can you be a good teacher in such conditions? I don't think evaluating the teachers is the answer. I think more in terms of salaries and making the profession more attractive and more respectable. But I should warn you that politics is not really my area. I mean, I'm delving into an area that's not my expertise, and my area is child development. So if I say something that doesn't sound right, I apologize. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to thank Professor Christian Cox and Professor Zina Eisenberg for their participation. It was such a pleasure to do this with you all. And I would like to thank the group here from the students at Stanford and the Lehman Foundation for organizing this, and the Center for Latin American Studies. And thank you for being here with us. And thank you to the audience. This has been a really unique and interesting experience. Please contact us if you would like to know more about STEP. I'd be happy to answer the questions via email or on the website. Thank you very much for your participation and your wonderful questions. There are many more. So thank you very much.